Hey you guys, this is Josh with Homesteading Family, and today is one of our major planting days. And as you can see behind me, we are putting in a lot of transplants, tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers. And today I'm going to show you how we handle our transplants. Okay, so here I've got a tomato plant that I'm getting ready to transplant. And before you even bring these guys off, you need to know a couple things before you bring them out. One, you want to harden them off. So if you're starting indoors, you need to make sure and be getting them outdoors during the day and even outside at night. That helps the plants acclimate and transition from the indoor environment, which is obviously moderated pretty well, to whatever your outdoor environment is. So we call that hardening off, and you want to do that for at least several days beforehand. We've already done that, and ours are in the greenhouse, so we just open the greenhouse up and it gets a little cooler air at night. And now we've got them out into the hoop house. And I'm going to show you first here a tomato. Tomatoes are a little different than a lot of other plants. You want to water them the day before. Make sure they're well moisted, okay? And whatever your little growing container is, first thing you want to do is pinch off the little starter leaves. And usually on the tomatoes, you may have to pinch off this first set of leaves, but it just depends. So next, you're going to get ready to take it out of the container. And you want to be really careful not to break up your soil in here or the roots too badly. So I like to just squeeze a little bit and loosen it up so everything's detaching from the container. And I turn it upside down, being careful to hold on to the stalk of the plant so we don't damage it, and just tap a little. That just helps us to get this out. You might have to pull a little and pull your start out. Now you're seeing this one, this is a small start, and they've been in here for a while, so they've got a lot of roots. Now we want to loosen these roots up. We don't want to pull them all off and severely disrupt them, but we do want to disturb them a little bit without breaking everything apart too much. That just is going to stimulate the plant. It's going to cause a little bit of stress, which is going to tell this thing that it needs to get growing and repair itself, and that just helps it to grow. Okay, so now I'm going to set it down for just a second. I'm going to clear our spot. If you're mulching, and if you know me and follow my videos, you know that I want my ground mulched all the time if possible. I want my soil covered. Then it's handy to have a really good sharp spade. I love this one from Homestead Iron. It's great. They make some really good tools. And what I like to do, really easy, it's going to depend on the size of your pot, but that's one reason I like these pots. They are big enough to let me start 6 to 8 weeks, but small enough to handle easily. And with that really sharp spade, you can just get down to depth, and we're going to want to get down and bury this tomato plant up to where its first leaves started at. That's going to help it grow roots out of here and get started. And that's a little different than other plants, but for these tomatoes, you want to go a little deeper. So we just pull the soil aside, drop that down in, and now you need to make sure you don't want to pack it super tight, but you do want to make sure there's no air bubbles in there. The roots will die if they're connected to air. And then you're going to fill back in, get the plant in the position that you want. And with tomatoes, you can go pretty deep. We could have taken it up real tall if we wanted, but this is enough. And we've gotten the stem covered. And then I want to put my mulch back. Okay. Now on tomatoes, I do not like my leaves touching the ground. They pick up fungus easier that way. And so you can see on this one, it's just fine. These are fine for now. I will probably trim them up a little bit later. But if it was lower or these leaves were sagging down, I would go ahead and pinch them off so that they're not into the ground. I know we have a little bit of fungus in the soil, and so I want to keep air moving through and not have them touching the ground at all. Okay, so let's do a cucumber now. Another one of our plants that's going in today. These are obviously much younger. We started them a little bit later. So want to loosen up the soil. I want to grab that stem a little, protect it. I don't want everything falling apart, and I'm just going to tap a little, just trying to be real gentle. Now it's got a few roots. Same thing. I'm going to move aside my mulch. Don't have as much mulch right here. Already prepped my soil last fall, composted it, mulched it, and so it's all ready to go right now. That's really nice. I don't have to go as deep with this guy. Gonna drop him down in. And again, I want to tuck that soil in around the edges. You want it compacted a little, but not super tight. You don't want to come up too high on the stem. On a lot of your other plants, cucumbers, peppers, squashes, if you're starting those indoors, you can rot the stem if you come up too high. Okay, and then I'm just going to bring the mulch back over. All right, now we'll do one more and we'll go ahead and do peppers. Really just the same thing. And you might be asking yourself why I've got so many plants in one spot here. You can see I've got tomatoes, we've got onions, and we've got peppers. I like to companion plant wherever I can. That creates some diversity in the soil and also just maximizes space. And these all grow real well together. And actually these onions are not our storage onions, they are our harvesting onions. So we'll harvest them small and thin them out as they grow and as the tomatoes and peppers grow. Again, I'm going to trim the bottom leaves. I just want them up and out of the way, even though we're not going to bury them that high. Loosen up your soil. Comes out real nicely. And just want to disturb these guys. Don't break them all, don't pull them all off. You just want to disturb them, loosen things up. That's going to stimulate growth. Hey, look at that. We got a little wiggler, a little bit of one. Nice to see some worms. Same thing, clear a spot. Tuck them in there real good. Make sure you don't have any air and that your soil's packed in without being super tight. Just with your fingers, just enough to give it a little resistance. That's all you need to do. And then we'll go ahead and put the mulch in. And even with these plants, even with the peppers, they don't seem to be as susceptible to the fungus, but I just like to keep the leaves off of the ground, air flowing through them. All right, we have just planted, I think, about 120 plus starts here in the hoop house. And they're all ready to go, and one of the last things you want to do is make sure and give them a good soaking, a good water. You want to water all the way around them. They're, you know, pretty fragile right now, so I don't want to water on top of them. I just want to soak in and get a good soaking around the plant. And then really you're good to go. You just need to get your regular watering system and you're set. Now, a couple things to know. Because of what they've gone through, you've stressed the plant. The plant might wilt, might almost look like it dies. Hopefully not. If you've done it really well, it shouldn't. But a lot of times they will wilt depending on the weather or how much stress was on the root structure, and that's okay. I mean, it's great if they don't do that, but that's normal a lot of times for a few days. And the other thing to know is you're not going to see growth right away. These plants have been in the pot. You know, at this stage, you've probably been noticing they're growing every day if it's warm in the season. And they're going to slow down right now while they recover from the transplanting and start to send out new roots. And they're going to be growing under the ground for a little bit. And then in about a week or two, somewhere in there, depending on your weather, you're going to see these guys really start to take off. So that's about it, I think, for today. Hey, one more thing I wanted to tell you, because I always mulch, I always keep my soil covered. But one thing you need to know when you're doing this, transplanting or any time in the garden, you do not want to get a lot of your mulch down in the hole where you're transplanting or turn that mulch into the soil. It will suck out the nitrogen in the soil. We want it up on top, but we don't want an excessive amount in there. So make sure if you are mulching like this, which is great, you should make sure and pull it aside, put your transplant in, and then bring it back around the top without getting a whole lot in the hole. Hope that helps you out. Happy gardening season, and I will see you soon.